This is Evan Abrams for PremiumBeat.com, bringing you another After Effects tutorial, and in this tutorial we're going to be creating this lovely particle undulating light floating background. It's very lovely. You can make it in just about any color, and if you need to put some background behind stuff, this is a good way to do it. Anyway, I'm Evan Abrams, and let's get into this tutorial. So, here in After Effects, here's a breakdown of basically what we're looking at in the project. We are going to be creating a background, 2 layers of particles, a ramp, and undulating light. So, if we take it 1 layer at a time, I'm sure we'll get where we're going. So, let's create a new composition. Call it Comp 2, make it whatever size and however many things you need yours to be. I'm using the HDTV 1080 24 frames a second preset. If your project that you need to put a background into is not these settings, do not use them. Just use whatever settings you need to use. Anyway, you hit OK on that. But keep in mind, as we go through this, that any settings and specific numbers I talk about may be relative to the size of my frame and may have something to do with how much time is going by. So let's make the background first. Let's make a new solid. And, that was a good color last time, but I'm going to use a different hue, I think. I think I'm feeling, something in the greeny blue zone. Anyway, just make sure that you're in this area of saturation and darkness. Okay, good. So I've got this green thing, and that is really not exciting. So let's make some new solids, or just drag out some regular black solids. These won't be remaining as they are. We're going to take this first one, and let's just name things so we know what we're doing. We've already made our background. Call it background. Let's make something simple. Let's start with the ramp. All right. Now the ramp is just a ramp. So we go here, and we go ramp, and create a gradient ramp. I put one of the markers up at 0, 0, and the other one is at the other extreme, 1920, 1080, down in the corner. And these colors are going to be something like, saturation of 0, and this can just be sort of like 50, kind of like that. Just adding some brightness to my day here, and just take the opacity of that and bring it down. So it's kind of shedding a little bit of light coming up from the corner, I think. And one thing I'm going to ask you to do is change your project settings here. Hold down Alt, click on this number, and just get a little bit more advanced, just because we can have some banding that takes place. So see what happens to the color at 8 bits per channel. Very heavy banding. 16, 32, not as much, but I mean, some things cannot be avoided when it comes to using something like the ramp. Anyway, that's just some tips and advice about that. Now let's make those particles. Let's use a black solid again. All right. And to that black solid, I will be applying a fill, and this fill will be determining the color of the solid. I just use black solids because having fewer solids around is generally a good idea. So I'm going to make this one pretty bright, and the hue I'm going to make closer to the blue, I think, somewhere around here. Nice bright blue. Okay. So now I'm going to put on CC Particle World. All right. And this is going to create a particle system. So if you hit play, you're going to see that from birth, it's going to start spewing out what kind of look like fireworks, which is all right, but it's not really what we want. And if we check this warning here, it says this effect supports 8 and 16-bit per channel color. Using this effect in a 32-bit color channel project may reduce color precision and may remove any high dynamic range values. That's okay, we're not working with high dynamic range. That's a matter for a totally other project. Okay, so let's go into the particle. We don't want lines, we would like lens convexes. Okay, I'm happy with the size. Let's go into the producer and make it larger. So right now it's a tiny ball. It's represented by these red lines. I'm going to change that to be a 1 on all accounts. So now it is quite a bit bigger than our comp. So as you can see, it's like we are in the middle of this. Okay, now let's affect the physics. Explosive, that's fine, but I'm going to put the velocity to 0. So these things kind of just show up. And right now it looks kind of like snow, but that's not what I'm into. I'm going to change the gravity here to 0. See what happens now? They just kind of hang out. And let's go even less than 0. Let's go to a negative number. See how they kind of hang in the air and then start to float up? That is exactly what we're looking for. Now, we also want them to have fewer of them born. So let's take that down, down, down. And let's have them live longer. So much, much, much longer. Maybe 5 seconds long. So they're gonna hang out. And so here we go. We have particles floating on up, which is perfect. That's exactly what we wanted. However, they don't need to be this opaque. So let's set them to maybe 25% opacity, maybe. And we're gonna change them to add. Yeah, this can be higher too. I mean, just do whatever your heart desires. Now I'm gonna duplicate that layer. And you can see duplicating that layer has not created more particles. It has created the exact same set of particles. If you want to just offset this in time, then this layer will be what this layer would be later in time. The viewer will probably never pick up on that, and it's a quick way to have 2 particle systems going. Now, I'm going to change the color of this one to be closer to the green side of things. Maybe make it a little bit more saturated as well. So you have blue particles and green particles. And we can change the physics here, if you'd like, to perhaps make these float a little bit faster. So you have 2 speeds of particles sort of happening. That can be pretty nice. Maybe don't make them too far apart. That's because it can get confusing for people. So we have a background. We have a ramp. Make sure the ramp is above those particles. And now we need those undulating lights, right? So we've got everything except for the undulation happening. So I'm going to bring down that black solid again. See, I'm not making a crazy amount of solids, which is great for everybody. So now I'm going to apply to this a fractal noise or a turbulent noise. They're both perfectly valid, and the differences between them mostly come down to how many resources they use of your computer when rendering. Now, I'm going to change the contrast up to 640. I'm going to set an expression by holding down Alt and clicking on the stopwatch here. And now I'm going to type in time multiplied by 100. And that's going to cause this to evolve and change over time. So we've basically created clouds that are changing over time. Now I'm going to apply a CC radial blur onto our project. And we're going to amp up the amount and change it from scratch to one of these zooms here. See what straight zoom looks like. I'm going to take the center, I'm going to put it way down here. In fact, it's going to go far further down to around 3000. All right. So that's straight zoom, then there's fading zoom, and then there's centered zoom. So, I mean, these are all quality zoomings. They're all pretty good. And as you scrub through, you can see that, on centered zoom, it definitely fills this up, as much as we would like. So it could be more, it could be less. However, I will say this, that it causes an unfortunate sort of stretching in here. So let's go with faded zoom, I think. Maybe that will do it. Yeah. Straight zoom. I don't know. They're all pretty great. But anyway, the point is you're going to need to put another expression on here, just because we want this center to wiggle around on one axis. So down here you can see where we type in expressions. I'm just going to bring that up a little bit. And this expression is going to run off the wiggle. So I'm going to type a couple of square brackets. And I know the second part of the square brackets I want to be 3000, because that's a value that's not going to change. But for the first part, I'm going to type wiggle, and then in brackets, I'm going to type in 0.1 for wiggle 0.1 times a second, and then wiggle 50. And because generally the wiggle will return to me a 2-part value if you put it on a 2-part property. So put in square brackets again and a 0, and that should be fine. So now the center is going to be moving around by 50 pixels. And you might want to amp that up to like 500 or something, so it's moving around a lot more, if that's something you want. But just keep in mind that if it moves around too much, it'll start to look weird. But overall, you are in the home stretch. So now we're going to change it here to be set to screen, just because we don't really want the darkness coming through. Or you can set this to add, you can set this to lighten, you can set this to multiply if you only want the dark parts to come through. That's totally your prerogative as well. But you have all of the parts that you need to get this thing done. So we are going to leave ours. Soft light seems to be doing it for me. Excellent. So now you might want to do something like blur out these particles using a fast blur. So you can put the fast blur on there, make them a little bit blurry. Make sure the other ones get a little bit blurry as well. Cool. And you might want to tone them down just a little bit so they're not as noticeable out there. But then you are able to render off or just use as much of this as you need, because it's going to be constantly changing and updating. So go ahead and put text out here. If you want to alter the lighting, if you want to flip things around, go nuts. But the ramp, if this is on or off, is going to be causing sort of, how gray and how this ramp goes across here. So edit that if you like. But you can see the colors are far more vibrant without it. It's kind of like you're underwater. But that's kind of the look we're after. Anyway, this has been Evan Abrams for PremiumBeat.com, teaching you how to make undulating light backgrounds. The particles and the light together sort of work to convey the idea that something is floating up. If you want things to fall down, just reverse that flow of gravity. Anyway, that's enough out of me. If you want to learn more things in After Effects or other applications, check out the blog on Premium Beat. And of course, come to Premium Beat for all of your sound effects and music needs. I'm sure there are some wonderful underwater sounds or angelic sort of la 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 sounds in there, some nice orchestral musics that you can enjoy to go with the backgrounds you create. If you want to see more of the things I put up on Premium Beat there, then check out me in the authors section, Evan Abrams there. And if you want to see the things I do outside of Premium Beat, head on over to evanabrams.com or my YouTube channel, EC Abrams, or hit me up on Twitter at EC Abrams. Hopefully this has been helpful to you. Hopefully you make some awesome backgrounds, and hopefully this inspires you to make more cool things in After Effects. This has been Evan Abrams. Thanks again for watching, and subscribe to all of Premium Beat's channels on YouTube and Vimeo, and I'll see you around the internet.